Welcome to the Diesel Emission Control Strategies for Locomotives Verification Group tutorial. My name is Kathleen Mead, and I'm going to provide you with a quick overview of the invoicing and payment history and process. In 2018 and 2019, the legislature provided CARB with new authority to assess fees for certification and compliance activity for non-on-road products, such as lawnmowers, aftermarket parts, off-road equipment, diesel emission control strategies, and evaporative components. Also, the legislature lifted the cap from the existing fee structure assessed on the on-road cars, trucks, and motorcycles. Starting in 2019, CARB staff worked with the affected manufacturers to create a fee structure that was adopted by our board in April of 2021. The new fee structure requires an upfront fee at the time of product application. There are 35 different categories organized in 6 different verification groups. This tutorial focuses on the Diesel Emission Control Strategy for Locomotives group. To read the regulations, please go to the web page shown here. The regulation was approved by the Office of Administrative Law on April 18th of this year and will go into effect on April 1st. All applications received on April 1st and later will require the correct upfront fee prior to CARB staff evaluating the product application. So, how do you pay the fee? The fee payment process is a 4-step process. Obtaining a fiscal account, creating and finalizing your invoice, making a payment, and submittal of payment documents with your application. On March 8th, I provided a workshop that walked through the details of step 1, 3, and 4, seen on this slide. This focused tutorial will provide more details on your verification group requirements, such as creating a draft invoice and defining each category type and fee type for this group. For more information on the complete process, please review the March 8th workshop. As previously stated, this tutorial focuses on how to create a draft invoice required for the invoicing process. The details of the step-by-step process are outlined in the March 8th workshop, and a recording of that workshop is provided on our webpage. Now for a quick review of the overall invoicing process. There are 3 steps. First, the manufacturer, or you, go to our website, select the correct draft invoice for your focus group, and create a draft invoice. Second, you email the draft invoice to mscertfees@arb.ca.gov, ensuring that you follow the instructions listed on this slide. Lastly, CARB staff will create and then email back to you the final invoice. You will use the invoice number and total payment for step 3 and 4 of the invoicing and payment process. Again, please review the March 8 workshop or visit our webpage for detailed instructions. And now I will hand the reins over to your focus group specialist to provide you with the information you need to fill out your draft invoice.
My name is Milad Pirhadi, and I'm going to provide you with the information needed to create a draft invoice for verification procedure, warranty and in-use compliance requirements for in-use strategies to control emissions from diesel engines. Diesel emission control strategies, or DECs, locomotive category. For all other DECs categories, we have prepared a separate tutorial. Diesel emission control strategies, or DECs applications, are according to Title 13 California Code of Regulations, Sections 2700 through 2711. The first step to create a draft invoice is to download the draft invoice form for DX from our webpage shown on this slide. Please make sure to download the correct form for DX from our webpage. The heading of the form should include diesel emission control strategy verifications and approvals, as shown in this slide. I provided you with a screenshot of the draft invoice form on this slide. As can be seen, the draft invoice form has different sections, including company information, product description or file name, calendar year, unique application identifier, category type, and fee type. In the following slides, I'm going to explain how to fill out all these sections in detail. In this section, please note that invoice number and invoice date should not be filled out by you. Invoice number and invoice date are for CARB use only, and CARB staff will fill them out later. You need to fill out all the other sections shown in this slide. For company name, address, city, state, zip code, country, contact name, contact phone number, and contact email, you need to use the company name, company address, and contact name and information associated with the application. For fiscal account number, you need to use the fiscal account number supplied to you by CARB. Please note that the parent company name, address, and payment contact may be different in the fiscal account than in the application contact. In other words, the information identified in the company's fiscal account can be different from the company's technical contact information identified in the application. If you do not have your fiscal account number, please contact Milad Pirhadi at milad@arb.ca.gov. For payment row number, each row represents one DEX application. Moreover, each row represents an application on which a payment is required. If no payment is required, no invoice should be filled out by applicants. For product description or file name, you need to follow the template shown on this slide. First, you need to mention the DEX application, then the product name. I have provided you with two examples. The first example is preliminary application of product X. The second example is final application of product Y. For calendar year, you need to provide the year in which the application is submitted. For example, 2022 as shown in the picture. The next section is the unique application identifier. You can see a couple of examples for the unique application identifier in the picture. I'm going to explain how to create the unique application identifier in detail in the next slide. Please note that manufacturers who already hold verifications have already been assigned a three-letter manufacturer code to identify their company. This code is used in the unique application identifier. If you do not already hold a verification and have not been assigned a code, please contact milad@arb.ca.gov as shown in this slide to obtain a three-letter code to identify your company. In order to create the unique application identifier, you need to follow the template shown in blue in this slide, where LO represents the identifier for DEX Locomotive, as DEX Locomotive are not covered by any executive orders. LO is constant for all of the unique application identifiers of DEX Locomotive. Then we have three zeros, which is constant for all DEX Locomotive applications. Y is the calendar year code of year submitted. For example, for 2022 submitters, Y is equal to N, consistent with EPA engine family lettering. MAN is the manufacturer three-letter code assigned to you by CARB. For example, it may be ABC for Alphabet Incorporation. Next, we have three numbers, which represents the ordinal application or submittal received from that manufacturer in the calendar year. For example, 004 means the fourth application or submittal received from that manufacturer in 2022. X represents extension. which should be always 0 because only new verification applications of Dex Locomotive are subject to the fee payments. Applications for modification of an existing verification in the Dex Locomotive category are not subject to any fees. Therefore, no invoice should be filled out by such applications. The next section is category type. The Dex Locomotive has only two category types based on the application process and implementation. These two categories can be seen inside the green oval in the picture. You can select the proper category type from the drop-down menu. For diesel emission control strategy locomotive, as mentioned earlier, we have two different category types, including locomotive initial application fee and locomotive final verification letter fee. In the next slides, I'm going to define each of the diesel emission control strategy locomotive category types. According to Title 13 California Code of Regulations, Section 2911, locomotive initial application fee means any fee paid at the submittal of a preliminary verification application, pursuant to Title 13, Section 2702, as described in the Diesel Emission Control Strategy Verification Locomotive Procedure. According to Title 13 California Code of Regulations, Section 2911, locomotive final verification letter fee means any fee paid prior to issuance of final approval letter, which signifies a complete California Air Resources Board verification. The next section is fee type. All DEX fee category types have two fee types, base and small business. You can select the fee type from the drop-down menu. All the applicants are required to pay the base fees unless they qualify for the small business provisions. Please note that delays in processing your application will occur if your application does not qualify for the fee type. Base type fee is a standard for most applications. After you have filled out all the sections of the draft invoice form, the applicable fee amount appears automatically in the form. Now, I'm going to explain the definition of a small business so you could see whether your company qualifies as a small business per the definition or not. A small business is defined in California Government Code Section 11.346.3, subdivision B4B, and Title 13 California Code of Regulations Section 2901. First, must be independently owned and operated, and second, must have 100 or fewer employees. Companies claiming the small business fee must sign an attestation to being a small business. CARB may request proof that the company meets all of the requirements of a small business. After you have filled out the draft invoice form, please don't forget to save it for your records. You need to email the draft invoice to the email address shown in the slide, mscertfees@arb.ca.gov. The email title should be MSF New Invoice Request with DEX in parentheses. In 1 or 2 business days, CARB staff will return your email with a PDF of the final invoice, with the invoice number and date applied. Do not pay your fees until 5 days after receipt of your final invoice. As mentioned earlier, you need to wait 5 business days after receiving your final invoice. Then you need to go to our webpage shown in the slide to pay the fees. You should include your invoice number with your payment. After you have paid the fees, you need to send an email to your CARB staff contact to communicate that your payment has been made. Include your invoice number and amount in your email. The CARB staff contact for DEX Locomotive is Milad Pirhadi from Freight Approval section, with the email address shown in the slide. Please note that once the correct fee has been received, the application review begins. Corrected payment will be due before application reviews begin. Delays in processing your application will occur if your application does not qualify for the fee type. Base type fee is a standard for most applications. Final invoice with applications shall be submitted to the email address shown in the slide, vdex.submission@arb.ca.gov. For more information, you may contact your assigned verification staff or go to our webpage with the address shown in the slide. Also, you may email mscertfees@arb.ca.gov shown in the slide for more information. Please include in your email header the nature of your inquiry and your category type, which is DEX, in parentheses. We recognize that this is a lot of information to digest. Please don't hesitate to reach out to me at milad.pirhadi@arb.ca.gov if you have any further questions. Thank you.